Well, alright everybody, February has come and gone, and normally this time of year, especially in the tech world on the Apple side, February and January are pretty slow months, but Apple graced us with the Vision Pro on February 2nd, and that's been kind of taking over the tech sphere over the last month. But now, we're moving on to March, where Apple is set to have a March event. So in this video, what I want to do is talk about everything that we expect at this March event, because there is some new hardware coming out that I'm very excited about. But without further ado, let's talk about Apple's March event and everything that we know. So I do believe the very first thing we're going to see at this March event is Tim Cook coming out saying his good morning, but then also giving us all the different sales stats and all the different accolades that they want to crown the Vision Pro with. They're probably going to talk about how many sales they had, how many demos they were able to do, how many people got their hands on it, both in-store and in their own home, and then maybe they'll even give us what the return rate on the actual Vision Pro was. But overall, the Vision Pro, in my opinion, is an outstanding device. Yes, it's one of a kind, it's $3,500, there's still a lot that is missing from it, but at the end of the day, it is Apple kind of showing what they can do and flexing their technical muscles and saying like, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we think the future is going to be. It's going to take us a certain amount of time to get there, but if you're an early adopter and you got $4,000 burning a hole in your pocket, this is going to be the device for you. But that is how Apple's going to start off this March event, by talking about the Vision Pro and what happened in February alongside of that. But then the next thing Apple should transition to is going to be brand new iPads. Now, we did a whole video talking about everything that we expect specifically from each iPad, but to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on exactly what to expect, we'll be talking about two categories of iPads. We're going to be talking about the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. With the iPad Air, the 11-inch version or the 10.9-inch version staying relatively the same, but then we will be getting a new larger iPad Air at a 12.9-inch iPad Air size. Now, what this is going to do is kind of fit into that larger spectrum in terms of being able to have a larger screen size, but not actually having to pay that pro-level money to just get a larger screen on an iPad. And Apple's been doing this with their other product categories like their iPhone 15 Plus lineup, as well as their 15-inch MacBook Air. People just want a cheaper way to have a bigger screen without having to pay with the pro-level kind of hardware and whatever comes with that. So definitely expect a new larger iPad Air to come in with the M2 chip in both of these, and these will be the cheapest way to get into the M series iPad, which is going to be nice to see. And from a pricing standpoint, we should still be at around $600 starting on the smaller one, and then maybe $800 on the larger one for the 12.9-inch, which will replace where the 11-inch iPad Pro stands. So that's a great segue into the iPad Pro models, because this one is going to have an actual change to the design language of what we see. We've had the same exact design language on the iPad Pro since 2018, which has been way ahead of its time for the past 6 years. But again, back then, that was Apple showing off exactly what they could do. They were showing off this beautiful piece of glass and what can be done. And at the very beginning, from a productivity standpoint, the iPad Pro was lacking. But now we're in iPadOS 17, and hopefully iPadOS 18 come like June and September, whenever they announce it at WWDC, the iPad Pro is becoming more and more of a computer replacement, depending on who you ask. You ask me, it is a full-fledged computer. You ask some other people, it's still just a content consumption device. But on the iPad Pro side, we will still be having two sizes. But what's going to be nice about this is that the form factor is going to change a little bit, right? We will be getting new OLED displays. Now, we don't know if it's going to be OLED displays on both of the iPads, if it's just going to be the larger iPad Pro or the smaller iPad Pro, but let's assume it's going to be on both of the iPads. So we will be having an 11-inch iPad Pro with OLED, with the M3 chip inside of there, and that's going to be starting probably at around $1,000. And then with the larger 12.9-inch iPad Pro, the bezels should be slimming a little bit to give us maybe a 13.1-inch iPad Pro, as well as also having an OLED display, and it's going to be a lot thinner in terms of thickness. So we're going from around 6mm to 5mm on the iPad Pro, and it's going to be enough of a difference where we should feel it in terms of being able to hold it side by side and seeing that it is going to be a thinner device. And that's going to be possible because the OLED display tech is actually a thinner display tech than Mini LED was. And now that 13-inch iPad Pro should start around $1,200, $1,300, depending on what Apple does with their iPad lineup. And I wouldn't be surprised if Apple gives us one more thing, which is kind of like this very specific kind of pro-level iPad Pro Ultra, which is going to be $1,500, $1,600, maybe at 14.1 inches. That's still something that I would kind of just dream of having. Like, I'm going to go fully loaded iPad, and that's going to be my main computer going forward, even though my M1 iPad Pro has been amazing, and that is also my main workhorse. I want the iPad Pro to be my end-all be-all. I'm going to put data on it, maybe get 1 terabyte of storage, and see what the M3 chip gives us in terms of performance and also RAM variation. So let's see what Apple does with that iPad Pro lineup, but I'm very excited. And then alongside the iPad Pro, we should be getting a new Magic Keyboard, which is going to have some aluminum aesthetic, maybe give us some data pass-through as well, and then an Apple Pencil 3, which is going to be probably the same thing, just with Find My integrated right in there. And like I said, if you guys want a more in-depth analysis of the iPad Pro, definitely check out the video that we posted last week, because there's going to be a lot coming in that thing that I'm very excited about. And then after the big iPad Pro and iPad Air announcement, Apple should be giving us new 13-inch and 15-inch MacBook Airs. Nothing's really going to change here. Form factor will stay the same. Everything is going to stay exactly the same in my opinion. They're just going to throw an M3 chip in there with maybe the ability to throw an M3 Pro in there. That still remains yet to be seen, but excited to see what Apple gives us from an internal standpoint. But from an external hardware perspective, it's going to be the exact same thing. So if you like the 15-inch MacBook Air already, just that much more performance in terms of GPU and CPU power. But then also Apple, if they continue to stay on the track of what they've been doing over the last few years, Apple should give us a new iPhone 15 and 15 Plus color, which will be nice to see. Now, we don't know what color that's going to be, but in 2021, for the iPhone 12 lineup, they gave us a new purple color for the iPhone 12 and 12 mini. Then they gave us Alpine Green the next year for the 13 and 13 mini. And then last year, I believe they gave us yellow for the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. So this year, let's see what color they give us with the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, and maybe even give us maybe like a red color for the 15 Pro and Pro Max. That would be very, very cool. And then finally, I think Apple's going to round up with some more Vision Pro announcements in terms of international availability, because as of right now, it's been a month and Apple is not giving any inkling on whether or not it's going to be available overseas or what the timeline is going to look like. But I do believe Apple's going to give us just some sort of idea of when it's going to be available, let's say in maybe Canada and Europe and things like that, and give us a timeline as to when to expect the Vision Pro moving forward internationally, because I know there's a lot of people internationally that want to get their hands on it, that want to try it out, and then not only try it out, but also try it out within the scope of where they live and the region that they live. So Apple should give us a timeline of what that looks like, but outside of that, that's going to be it for the March event. We're going to get new iPads, I'm going to put new quotes on the MacBook Airs because it's just going to be a refresh internally. And then we're also should be getting new iPhone colors, and Apple's going to give us some Vision Pro announcements to look forward to. And that'll be the last event we get until WWDC. But regardless, I'm excited because Apple's finally should be putting some kind of R&D and some power behind the iPad lineup, because it's been about a year and a half or maybe even 2 years since Apple's giving us any new iPad. And then maybe in the second half, they will even give us maybe some iPad mini upgrades and things like that. But for right now, I'm just excited for a brand new iPad Pro, which has been a long time coming. But that's going to do it for this video, everybody. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And let me know, because I want to discuss in the comments what you guys expect out of a new iPad Pro. Do you think it's going to be a little bit more revolutionary, a little bit more innovative, or do you think it's just going to be another spec bump that's going to be relatively the same, that's going to be doing relatively the same thing? But let me know in the comment down below. But if you guys want to watch some more iOS, macOS, iPadOS, or VisionOS videos, click on one of these right here. And until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Very, very excited for new iPad Pros. Leave a comment down below if you are too.